Holly.
Yes, ma'am.
The sound is going in and out.
Because I keep muting and unmuting.
Well, stop that. No, okay. No, as long as that's what it is. Okay, thanks.
I'm going to mute again, Brenda.
I'm going to mute too.
Hey, Roger.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing, Roger?
Doing fine. How are you?
Doing good.
.658, so I'm just going to leave it unmuted at this point.
Yeah. You want that stuff?
Hey, Sean.
Hey. Are you walking us through the EDA plan then? I thought. Roger for a second. But he stepped away.
Can I go ahead and start recording?
Hang on one second. Hang on. Ask Roger about the EDA committee since he's, the two on there. Hey, Roger.
Yes.
I think you might have joined right after we were talking about, I'm not sure Sean heard either. Taylor has some family stuff going on tonight, so he's not able to attend. He was going to lead us through the EDA strategic plan discussion. I'll be frank, I didn't prep to lead through that since I thought he was leading through it. So I think we can either just work through it ourselves or we could move it to next month when we are supposed to have the annual report from the EDA. And I do think there could be some value in looking at those two together. Do you have any?
That makes sense.
You good with that?
Yeah, because
okay.
I haven't been, I'm good with it because I haven't been briefed on anything either.
Yeah, okay, same, okay.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you're fine, Holly, thanks.
And Sean said we were streaming, so whenever you're ready, we're good.
All right. All right, it's a little after 7 o'clock now. We'll go ahead and get the meeting started. We do have a quorum with all 5 board members here or through WebEx attending. And with that, we'll start with an invocation and then review the agenda from there. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us all safe travel here tonight. Thank you for helping guide through the situation on Route 609 today, and that thus far there have been no injuries. We thank you for that. Please be with all of us as we travel home today and guide us with safe passage. Be with all of those who are sick and healing at this point. And Lord, help all of us tonight do your work and work in the best interest of the county citizens. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, we're looking at the agenda for tonight. I'm going to propose two changes for discussion. One is that we postpone review of the EDA strategic plan until next month when we'll have the annual report from the EDA. We think those two will match up nicely. And then we're pleased to have representatives from the Planning Commission here tonight, the members of the CIP committee, and probably to be most efficient for their time, we can start with that topic and then move through the email security, River Street, and Civic Engage.
You want a motion to that effect?
Yes, if any discussion or motion would be great.
I move that accept the chairman's suggestion as it relates to the agenda.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, same sign? All right, thank you. All right, we'll go with that updated agenda. And with that change, then we will start with the CIP discussion. So members of the Planning Commission, CIP committee, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate y'all's time tonight. Not sure how much briefing y'all received. So let me just do a little bit of recap from, that's fair, Dennis. Let me do a little bit of recap from our last couple of meetings, but especially our December one. We're heading into budget cycle, as you all are familiar with. We've got several new members of the board. Two of us joined first part of last year, so we've just been through one budget cycle. We had a new member join last fall, so we his first budget cycle. So you've got a lot of newer members here. We're coming up to speed. We're learning a lot about the budget process. And we had some thoughts both from the cycle we went through last spring, as well as what we've been having in conversations in our workshops over the last couple months as well, about where we'd like to head with the CIP. And Mr. Phelps was very thoughtful in reminding us last month that we really need to make sure that we loop the CIP committee of the Planning Commission in on that and make sure that we're being collaborative and providing good feedback. We've gotten feedback that in the past, several of the committees, both EDA, which was mentioned tonight, and the Planning Commission have not necessarily gotten clear direction from the board. And so then it leaves us in a position where maybe we're each not fulfilling each other's needs very well. So we really just, we're going to have a conversation about, what do you all need to do your job the best? What are we looking for? And collaborate together from there as we're, again, heading straight forward into that process. Anyone else, please, for you to add? I was just trying to summarize, particularly David, since you've got good experience on both.
But I'm not speaking for the plan.
No, I understand.
I know in my experience on it, this is something that had never really been done. And there was always some question of what the board could have felt when we were doing our decision making. So I just thought it'd be a good time to get some type of direction.
But normally we're just given David would give us, or the board would give David a rough estimate as to how much money they thought would be coming in.
Yeah.
And we kind of worked around that figure. But we only had a book or a stack of papers that
Right.
each department put in, and then was a lot of those in there were pretty much had to go on, like roads or different things that were already on.
Yeah.
We tried to work it in there, and then each department head or someone from the department would come in and kind of explain what they were asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they had no idea what they were asking for. They wanted the money, but they didn't know what they wanted the money for. So a lot of times push that on downhill for another year or so until they decide exactly. And sometimes they come in fiddly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Probably ought to be in their budget and not on CIP. So that's kind of where we were.
Yeah.
And David kind of guided us some things that we didn't know about, like safety part. We didn't know a lot on that.
Mm-hmm.
We did something else for communications within the county. We didn't know a whole lot about that. So he brings us up to date on some things like that. That's kind of how been since I've been on all the time. And, you know, what gets you, worst part was they come in and ask for it 1 year and then come up the next year and you say, well, you know, you asked for this last year, do you need it this year?
Right.
No, we don't need it at all. Well, I don't need it all, why'd you ask last year?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of frustrating. Well, we put it on the list, board supervisors okay it, and then those that got it didn't know it was available.
Mhm.
So, well, we didn't know about it. I don't know if that's miscommunication. Like me, if you knew it was on that plan, certainly go to the treasurer or whoever and ask them, you know, when's my money available?
Yes.
A lot of times they come in with figures that were very unrealistic, very incomplete. And that's kind of what those don't remember, we go through there and ask them, have you thought about this, thought about this? They
Right.
would add on. Kind of made them think a little bit more, I just want $50,000 for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, you really get looking at the project, it's $75,000 to $100,000. That was kind of our.
Yeah, and we did experience that with a couple of I mean, everything you're saying is very aligned with what we've been talking about, what we've experienced. So I lost track of time. In November and December meetings, we worked through some of the CIP projects because, you know, we had postponed approving anything in the spring due to the uncertainty of COVID. And we found that several, the estimates were too small. So we had to increase once they actually had a firm estimate. And then at least one project's just not feasible to do anymore, for a variety of reasons. And then, yeah, some lack of clarity on other things. So I think you hit on 3 of the items that I'll just jump on first and everybody chime in. Oh, and Carla, obviously you're a key member of the budget process. Please feel free to chime in at any point throughout this. We'd love your take on it. So the small stuff that you mentioned, Larkin, is something that we observed. I think, Sean, like when we were going through our first cycle last spring, we saw a lot of things too that we thought like just should be part of normal budget. I think we've struggled to put like a firm definition of what should or shouldn't be in CIP, but we're really thinking that CIP is larger dollar stuff, you know, generally one-time spend, not very reoccurring.
Kind of like permanent.
Yeah, and that really advances something in a meaningful way, so that like even if you're, you know, even if it's a large purchase and you don't plan to do it again, of like you're going to buy a new vehicle, we're not sure that's really CIP. That's just, you know, ongoing needs of running that department, that they have to replace a vehicle or even add one ever so often. I'm being cautious to exclude the fire department necessarily from that. There could be some exceptions, which is why I think we struggled with rules.
One thing on vehicles, about 4 years ago, we pulled the vehicles out of the CIP and kind of had it separate. They said they put it there and, you know, so many years, they keep it, drop it to somebody else in the county.
Right.
The sheriff's office is like that.
For
Fleet management, I think.
For the existing fleet, that's my understanding too. Like Parks and Rec had a request in for a replacement ATV or UTV. You know, we did end up approving that as part of CIP, but we said we'd really like to see going forward is there's enough budget built in. That's a replacement to very much like the ones you're talking about, or I think environmental, like Patty's was the other one, needed a replacement truck. That wasn't part of the normal schedule of things. So, yeah. And then like I think there was some like some air conditioning and
Parks and Rec had like a $400 batting cage that we needed a year ago. That was on the 2021 or 22 CIP.
Yeah.
There's a little things like that, but from what I can see in talking to people, it seems like to me that it's just historical procedure, if that's the right words to use. It's just the way it's always been done. Nobody's ever tried to do it any other way. So I guess departments think that they can only get money one time a year. And then you get small things like that that kind of suffer.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix it exactly. I think it's just Matter of-
We try to explain to some of those small items, you ought to put it in your
Right,
department
right.
budget up front, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, if back cage comes in there and you got a choice between a back cage and something else, you know, what would you rather have? We got X number of dollars.
Exactly. Yeah.
We try to explain that to a lot of them, and sometimes it would catch on and sometimes it wouldn't.
Yeah.
We had discussed in the spring, in one of our meetings that a lot of the items for this year coming up, and next year, I think that we felt that they are replacement items. What would you call them? That you mentioned the air conditioning, doors. You know, we were almost wondering if I don't know how to do it, I'm doing this, but if there should be two separate budgets to a degree, because if somebody needs a new AC unit, pushing that off for 3 years when it's actually a repair or maintenance item to give somebody else a different CIP. I mean, I know it's all the same amount of money, but maybe we should prioritize these as the repairs. If you need AC, you need AC. You know, if you need a new door, if you need it 3 years from now, why are you asking for it now? And you kind of included that too, you know, but.
Well, maybe, Carla, maybe we need to look at a little, I hate to use this term, but a little bit more of a catch-all item, you know, a budget line for maybe maintenance. I suspect we have one, but maybe there's a separate for like large maintenance. And then, you know, as requests come in throughout the year, they would still need to be prioritized or something, but rather than putting them off into the longer term CIP.
Right. And each department does have a repairs and maintenance line. And I mean, the goal would be to include anything, you know, if you know your AC needs to be replaced in the next year, because typically that's about the life of it, that regardless of the cost, you know, assuming it's $50,000 or below, you know, fairly reasonable. I would say we should keep that in the department's operation and maintenance budgets.
Mm-hmm.
With the new purchases, larger projects, and I think the threshold is 25, I believe. So any new larger projects that are not operation and maintenance, that's what that CIP budget is for.
What did you say the threshold is, Carla?
You broke up. What are we talking about?
I believe it's 25,000. Is that right, Holly?
Are you talking about the minimum? The minimum threshold for CIP
12 or 15.
is 15. Yeah,
15.
that's the minimum to apply for a CIP project. It has to cost at least $15,000.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of envision the CIP as your I want to say, but like your dream list, basically.
Yeah.
Things, true capital improvements.
Here,
And if you're having to budget a air condition and a UTV, you're not really dreaming and you're not really showing people what you could do or what you need. We don't really have the big list to work towards, you know.
This is currently like the guidelines that we send to all department
Oh, okay.
heads saying what it has to be to apply for it and some samples of things you could apply for.
Right.
If y'all want to.
That kind of, go ahead.
It might be a little bit different this time because of the conversations we've had with and are having with a lot of your departments. Until maybe they too, maybe they got good answers.
So it's probably just
We've
gotten
had the
watered
same
down.
kind of discussions with them that we're having with you, so.
Yeah, and also, we've offered in the past for department heads the option of meeting with the board to review their requested budget.
Right.
This year, we've said they must meet with the board, and some in the past haven't actually even prepared a budget. They've just told Carla just kind of the same as last year. We've said everybody needs to prepare a budget, and then everybody needs to come talk to us. So we have 3 dates that Carla has coordinated and for department heads to come talk to us, which will of course be public meetings. And I would definitely welcome any members of the planning commission as a whole. Any citizens, of course, are welcome, but particularly the CIP committee, if y'all are interested, you're welcome to sit in. They may not be talking about their CIP requests, but it maybe just gives you a little more information around the total of what they're interested in. It's not a mandate, just an offer to you. Do you have the date? So Carla has already we've got David transitioning off, as you all know. So we've got dates already out there for when the CIP requests were due back in, though,
Yes,
right?
yep, we sent that letter out on the 21st and requests are due back to me by the 29th of this month. I haven't received any yet. I've gotten a few calls from library, school, but haven't gotten anything submitted yet.
And I don't know if we made this a rule, but we pretty much encourage them all to start fresh, not just submit something over the tread last year, because kind of to your point, Larkin, like it needs to be really refreshed and be the current request. Do y'all, I don't know a lot about the CIP committee's process. Do you all then have a separate meeting when you review what comes in?
No, we did. We meet like a week, 2 weeks before normal planning commission.
Mm-hmm.
Come up with what the figures we had. Then we take it before the planning commission. For them to review it, if they had a suggestion,
Yeah.
pass it or turn it down, then pass it on to board supervisors at their next meeting. We only meet like first week of January, roughly. First or second week, meet Monday.
Yeah.
And that, then you all meet in February, which is middle of the month. And then at that point, it's not that you have to accept what we had.
Right.
We just kind of narrowed it down, so y'all have a little less go through.
Yeah.
How to get you.
Yeah, and it's more collaborative that way. Yeah.
The
That's how
time,
it's always been.
It kind of worked twofold. We were talking about the little items, but also on the big items. Several times we seen the animal shelter.
Oh, yeah.
Several times we seen stuff for the library that were way beyond what we could even do with our figure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why those things got pushed back. It won't that we didn't want it,
Right.
but it was too much for us to decide.
Yeah.
So those things have been there for a while.
Yeah.
we chose this date of January 29th since we are working on a little bit of a later schedule this year.
Yeah.
So that after this meeting, we could coordinate with the CIP committee to hopefully meet about the first or second week of February, then present it at the February Planning Commission meeting, to then get to you all for the March board meeting.
Okay.
That was the time frame we were hoping to work on, and that'll give me time between when people submit things to if anything needs to be vetted by Daryl,
Right.
to get with him and go through that before we take it to the committee.
Yeah, I think that's a key piece. And I know David mentioned that last month, but when you were talking about the estimates or lack of estimates in some cases, David brought up a really good point last month, of making sure Daryl Golf gets to see all of them and get in, like his department has to do the majority of
He
them.
has a very good feel as to what false starts.
Yes, he really
A
does.
whole lot more than a lot of the others.
Yeah. Yeah, he does it all. He does it all the time.
Especially.
So Holly, it sounds like we could you're to the point, you could probably go ahead and schedule, not the second, but
Yes.
schedule the CIP committee meeting
Yes.
for the first part of February.
Exactly.
Could we, since we are a little bit longer on the schedule, do you think we could bring it back to the board's March workshop rather than
Oh,
the
yeah.
board's March?
It should be ready to
That just
roll
gives us,
right after.
that's 1 week earlier at least, give us a little bit of time.
Yeah, it should be ready to roll after February Planning Commission, which is
Okay.
the fourth Monday in February. So so February 22nd, it should be all set on our end.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
It could always be sent to us in advance, but
Sure.
the workshop, it's a better format for just talking things through. And I think it'd be great then if we collaboratively did that, just talk through them. Even if, I don't know, we look at the rules, even if we can't formally accept it
Yeah, we can
until
do
the
that.
following meeting, we could still talk about them. So, okay.
So we want to put that on the agenda for the March workshop.
That's what yes, I'm making the same note too. If
Okay.
you would pass it along.
And again, hopefully, because again, this thing ought to have a snowball effect. Is
Yeah.
that since we've had some conversation with those departments also, maybe you get stuff that's more realistic and goal setting, so to speak, and the
Yeah.
vision and kinds of things that we were ask them to dare to dream and dare to look beyond.
Right.
And maybe you'll get some of this.
Yeah.
I do have one question. We're talking about the small items and it ought to be in the budget. When, I know Daryl has had some stuff from there before, as far as wastewater, cleaning the lagoon out and stuff. And those are $300,000-$400,000 and things that we need to do. So I'm just trying to get some, it's a comparison that, we talked about putting small stuff in the budget, but that's a pretty big item that we're gonna need to put in this budget too, so.
Yeah, that's a bit, yeah.
We're not all talking about a $25,000 project. It is some stuff in there that needs to be done.
You know, same thing.
Absolutely.
The wellhead stuff.
Drilling for the new wells for the
Yeah.
water system. That was unusually large item, more than I thought.
Yeah.
Of course, you know where you're gonna put any money aside for a new septic system or new pipe or new.
Right. Yeah, totally
And
agree.
the school will come in and what you put in there, buy the land for a school, well.
Right.
Do you really need a school yet? Do you need it this year or next year, or, you know, some of those big items are, and it, you know, last year we had a pretty good budget. 2 years ago, I mean, we had what, $500,000 is all we had to spend. I mean,
Yeah.
a very small budget, so I mean, it doesn't take many items to eat that up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think I made that note. We need to come back and talk about the amount, the actual budget itself in 1 second. The ones that you mentioned, we've experienced some of those too, like the really big but unknown numbers, like a new library, some of the parks and rec stuff, which are all good. They do, I mean, like Ms. Harris said, they dare to dream, but then they don't have enough tangible to really make it real yet.
Right.
So we have had a couple examples of that over the last probably 6 months where we kind of, I don't think we've made a rule by any means, but we've set a precedent a little bit of giving those groups money to go and do feasibility studies. So the library, the fire and rescue for a new training facility, for the Hindle building, and I guess and the Parks and Rec. We gave animal shelter, yeah. Okay.
Animal shelter.
Thank you. So varied a little bit, but approximately $30,000, $30,000 to $40,000 per group to say, all right, you need some money to go out and put your ideas together, work with a consultant, make it a realistic request. So I think where they have those really, really big ones, that would be a potential, it may not work in every case, but that would be a good option. And those do seem like good uses in the CIP because they do advance you toward that bigger vision and almost kind of, you know, takes the first step in it. So just maybe I know what the request is, could be a good option for them to consider.
I think we had a few of them too from the library. I think the last time we
Likely
gave them a
so.
little bit of money, but they finally come down with a plan.
Oh,
They
gotcha.
They called me and want me to meet with the board one time.
Mm.
They were eating me pretty hard. I just told them, I said, you had X number of dollars, took the book in, and I asked them around, I had 2 or 3 of them, and I said, now where would you spend your money?
Right.
They understood at that time that they need to get the facts together.
Yeah.
Next time we met, they had the facts together. I think a lot of it just, and then of course,
Getting the
talking about air conditioning. On the school system, they wanted some air, you know, updated. We said, well, you know, they want to do them all at one time. Great problem.
Yeah.
He said, we're all broke. I said, no, we can run this one for another 2 years. And then we said, well, can we stair step it?
Yeah.
Do this one this year, next year.
Yeah.
We did a lot of split like that. The asphalt with all the
Mm-hmm.
parking lots. Of course, you know, the fire departments is staggered them, so it wouldn't be so much.
Right.
So some of those things you can break down, get them done, and some you gotta do it next week.
Right. Right.
No, like you said, the doors, you know, they wanted to go on the library that handicap could open. Well, we didn't think that was the CIP project.
Agreed.
I said, all we had to do, why don't you just go to Taylor or whoever's in the office, tell them you need a door for that, need the things, they can put it on. They'll go ahead and put it on.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, we mentioned the amount of money or the budget a couple of times. I think in some of our conversations that we're talking to the department heads too, that's come up as, you know, a block, a hurdle in that. So last year, last budget cycle, the board voted not to limit the landfill funds to only funding the CIP, which kind of works the opposite way too. Doesn't mean that the CIP is limited to the landfill funds. So I think the big difference there is, I'm only speaking for myself, so to be clear, this needs to be collaborative, make sure I'm not missing something. But I think the thing is, Larkin, we're not going to get a figure to you that says, this is your budget this time. It's going to more be looking for the CIP committee to weed through the requests, kind of use a criteria like we've talked about, like what seems like valuable things to go into the CIP, and then put them in some kind of prioritization that I think, David, I don't know if the words in your mouth, I think it was you last month that said you often tried to give kind of something to every department, but that didn't necessarily mean you could ever get to the big goals. You know, kind of look at it and I don't know that it has to be like a 1 to 10 ranking, but maybe it's really high priority stuff, you know, longer term and long term. You know, I think we give you the flexibility, but we had a couple conversations, including at our last month's meeting where the auditors were talking to us about our debt levels and things. You know, the county has almost no debt, which is a great thing in many ways, but borrowing is a good way to help, whether you're a family, an individual, or an institution, you know, to make some advancement, and we can get some cheap funds right now. So we're not saying we're going to borrow money, but we don't want to limit ourselves either and say, here's a need, and we not find a way to get to it. So we prefer to understand what the needs are and kind of the priority of them, and then figure out if we want to do it, how do we pay for them? Does that make sense to everybody around? Roger, I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth either, but and it's harder when you're on the video.
I think one of the key points here is the reason for not giving out an amount is we want to understand not only the needs, but also the wants of every department and the public. I mean, we may come up with something, for instance, the presentation given to us by Parks and Rec, it's going to be a lot of money, but we may decide it's something we want to do. If they came to the CIP process group, the planning group, and said, we need $20 million to do this, it's never going to get considered. It'll always be pushed away because it's not an urgent need. It's not just fixing something. It's not just, you know, taking care of basic needs. If we continue to throw out a number and say, this is all we can afford, all we're ever going to do is stay the same. We're not going to grow. We're not going to improve. We're just going to keep fixing things and staying the same. We're not moving ahead. So I think if every department dares to dream, as Sean said, they may not get what they dream for, but at least we get the discussion going and we get people thinking about what's best for Amelia, not just what can we afford. What should we be thinking about that we would really like to do? And then it's a matter of looking at, okay, all these things come in from all these groups, the CIP guys put it all together and say, this is what we think is important. They convinced us that this is really something we should do, but it's a lot of money. And then we can sit down and consider, okay, it is a lot of money. Do we borrow? Do we not? Do we do more this year and even more next year? What do we do with taxes? I mean, all of that has to be part of the discussion. And when we just throw out a number of $600,000 or whatever, you don't get to see any of that. Nobody even thinks about it because they're just capped right away. It's a big no. And that's what I think we need to be able to hear what not only the needs, but the wants.
And I think maybe, you know, a bit of a summary of that is empowering people, both empowering the department heads to make requests and then empowering the CIP committee to have more both flexibility and control, right? Like we really value that input and we want you to.
Hands won't be tied before we can get to the meeting.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, exactly, Dennis. So, yeah, so I mean, does that, I don't know, we're not super prescriptive, but that's why I wanted to just have it as a conversation. Does that help?
That would certainly help. I mean, when you come in and like you had X dollars and you have some big projects that are pretty much required to put some money aside a year down the road.
Yeah.
You already done 50% of what supposedly you had.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have it. might start with a big figure, but really down to a little figure.
Right.
And then,
And with this type of process, ultimately the board tells them, no, you don't.
yeah,
You know, as that committee, you look more neutral. Hey, we heard you, we think your project should be at the top. And then the board says, we can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it, to me, it takes a burden off of you, you know.
I do hope that by the time it leaves the planning commission, that there is a kind of a reasonableness check that's been done by that point, but that by that
Right.
Daryl will have gotten through it. And in your conversation with the department heads, you do end up with a good sense of like, the request number is close enough to write, you know, that we can proceed, or they're, I don't want to use the term shovel ready, but I mean, I think it's the one that comes to mind is like, if we say yes to your earlier point, you know, like sometimes then people didn't start for whatever reasons. Like if we approve it, we'd like people to go ahead and start and get something done. Otherwise, the money's sitting there tied up, could have been used for something better. So I think those are two good criteria.
That was that, I think they'll put irrigation in the football
Yes,
field.
correct.
Irrigation. That's been approved 3 to 4 years ago. Yet, because they kept saying, well, we can't do it because we need it.
Yep.
Right.
So then last year, I think, year before last, they gave some money for them to do a little bit more for the land, field below the high school,
Yep.
so that they could work over there. So Glenn could have a little more possibility at the football field
Yep.
at the school. And I think, I'm not mistaken, the one at the school, it was like a 4 or 5 year plan, and they came up, it was a whole lot better man that came in and explained it. This is kind of what we need to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Think next year we could probably utilize this. You know, they had, at that point, that man understood the process.
Right. Right.
Other people that came in had no idea what the process was.
Mm-hmm.
They knew they needed money. This is what they were told to come speak to us about. They didn't know that.
Right.
What am I gonna do with the money after I get it?
Yep. Yep.
And that was kind of frustrating
Sure.
too, you know. If they're gonna come talk to you, they need to know what they're gonna do with it, not just send somebody, here, you need this.
Yeah.
They really could not explain, you know, what is needed, what is not needed, what's the priority of it. Because they always come in, check on the priorities, and all of them, immediate, one of them was immediate.
Right.
We took that off this year.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Occasionally they'd say, you know.
Chairman?
Yes.
I think the library is the perfect example of what the problem is. They had no idea, you know, Jill's a librarian. She's not an architect. They had no idea what they needed, but they wanted an expansion. So they come up with this number of $10 million and they put it in the CIP. And of course, everybody chokes on that. And it just got pushed out year after year after year after year. And now we say, okay, you don't know what you need. You know you want something, but here's a little bit of money, go figure it out. And it may be $2 million. I mean, I'm just throwing a number out there. And we might look at that and say, okay, we're going to do that, but we're going to phase it over 2 or 3 years. And here's how we're going to fund it. That's the kind of discussions we need to be having with every group for the bigger ticket items that actually improve Amelia and move it forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just so y'all know, specifically on that, sprinklers, that we defunded that one with Glenn's support in November or December, one of the two, because as you said, it wasn't really getting done. And so they came up with higher priority requests that could actually move forward. So
Like lights for all the fields.
Yeah.
But they would never say which fields was the most necessity, you know, they want us to see down here, and they said, public will fuss about the lights in their yard or
Yeah.
things, and they say, well, you know, you need the lights somewhere else, so. But that was one that came in with a figure that was about half of what it was gonna cost.
Right.
They didn't figure on getting electricity from pole here to there, and that's the expense. The
Yeah.
poles are the cheapest thing.
yeah.
Yeah. You gotta go underground.
Good examples. So that reminds me, we asked for, and I'll follow up with Taylor, we had asked for, we didn't say a date to start, but a monthly report of progress on all the open CIP items to try to avoid the situations that you're talking about there, where something has been funded for a long period of time but no progress, or it needs more money but no one knew it, kind of thing. So I made a note too, Holly, but I think it'd be good to see that in our monthly board book. I think it's a little hard to pull together, from my understanding, because it's the requests, the CIP, they're all run from different people, but we'll see what we can come up with on that.
As far as the process, I agree with ranking them. What do we envision as far as, I use Roger's example with the library, if we've got 5 or 6, $50,000 projects that seem important, I mean, how do we rank now, next year, or next year? Am I making it? That's what I'm trying to, because right now we just push it back to the next year, or we push it back to the third year. When we rank them 1 through 10 or 1 through 12, what's the, just rank them as we see fit, or is there a process we're looking for?
No, I think you're right. And that plays into what Roger said, that you also decide, the committee should decide what the priority is. If the library is a priority, then, all right, we can't do it this year, but we need to start this year putting money back just so that we can do it 3 years, not push it back 3 years, because then it never gets done. That's how I feel about it.
Get it up front where you can see it. And
if the committee says this is important, we want to do this, then we can't fund it all, but we should definitely make that, a priority as far as getting funding going for it, so things don't just keep getting shoved down the line. That's kind of how I look at it.
You have planning or something going on.
She does.
In the end of the month.
She does. And let's see, you've been in one of the planning meetings for the library, I think, and Roger and I were in one yesterday. We can't all attend at the same time. It's the meeting. But I think what you're going to find is, because of these now, 5 groups that we've given funds to do planning,
right.
I think what you're going to find is they're not going to come back and ask for the next CIP money until the plan is actually done. And then they're going to be able to say, this is the plan. This is exactly how much plus or minus 10% or so, this is what we think it's going to cost. And I would hope personally, by the time they do that, there's been enough vetting. Like, we'll keep going with the library. Jill was very specific, they're planning community meetings to get input, and so that by the time that plan comes on, it's a good worked out plan. And we still have to figure out how fast we want to move on it, but then it's something tangible and specific, both from an idea and money part. And I think that's what you're working on, like for Hendel too, right, Roger? I mean, you're working toward a plan so that when you come back.
All of these things that we funded would be that way. But we need an alternative for just kicking things down the road.
Yeah.
Something that's important, if it's important, but we don't have enough money to do it all, we need an option for that. Debt can be one option, or phased in approach could be another option. With a little bit of money this year, a little bit next year, don't just push it out and don't do anything. Otherwise, we never get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, another example is David and I working with the radio study. When that comes up, that's something that we can't kick down the road for 5 years. It's 10 years. It's something that I'm sure you would prioritize as pretty high, and we got to say, okay, we can't do it all this year, but we got to get this done in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, however, or be able to, maybe they'll give us options to phase that in as well. But if add on to the library or put in a communication system, that would be up to you guys to decide which one of those is more important, and not worry about the money of the cost of the two, but which one you felt would benefit the county more, and just put them in that order.
Who would benefit? The most people that would benefit from a project, some of them.
Right.
Yeah, some things are not, but some of them, are.
Yeah.
I mean, like communication.
And that's when you read the list in here, that's what it says is about, does it benefit the community, or does it have a economic or community impact? So that's, I think taking the money side off of the committee is will lift a huge burden. I hope it will.
All right, feels like we're at a good point. I think felt like a constructive conversation. Thank y'all for contributing and listening to that, and we look forward to working together for the next couple. We can email you or Carla can, but I'll just tell you off the top of my head, the 3 dates that we're looking at to meet with the direct department heads for the budgets are January 21st at 2:00, January 22nd at 9 a.m., and January 28th at 9 a.m.
I'm gonna email y'all to set up the CIP committee. I'll tack those dates on there too.
Perfect.
So y'all have
And
that.
again, because you're not required to come to those, we just want you to know, we would like this to be more collaborative. That's what we're trying to kick off with now, to the degree that works. Great. Always welcome. All right, we'll move on to our next topic. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome to stay, by the way.
I think that was good.
Yeah.
Because it certainly led to CIP, something we haven't had. I think this is gonna be a good process.
I think the biggest thing that's gonna help us is not walking into the meeting and saying, we got $500 to deal with.
Right.
That's gonna help a lot.
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Good. And if you run into problems through that you think we could help solve or give you feedback real time, ask. Also, feel free to keep a running list of things that you think could be changed about the process for next time too. And we'd be glad to look at those and each year try to get better and better at the whole thing too. So good. Thank y'all very much. Oh, yeah, sorry, Ryan.
My benefit, I'm sorry, I can see Larkin, but who else is there from the planning commission?
Dennis, David Aaron, and Whit's on screen.
I just wonder.
If you guys have them, that's fine. I can
Okay,
have-
thanks.
Could you hear me?
All right, well, I'll probably come in.
Could you hear me, Rob?
Yeah, those are the 4 members of the committee, the subcommittee. Yeah, okay.
I think the last component of that will be the actual department heads. You know, Larkin was saying sometimes they come in, they don't really know what they want. You know, it's convincing them to get a plan, come up with something solid and bring something solid and not just hit or miss. I don't know they do it all the time. I'm sure they don't, but kind of
I
getting
can
them
try to
on
give them
board.
a little more feedback before they come in of what, based on this conversation, what you all are looking for and what the CIP committee wants from them in this conversation, so that they're not coming in blind too.
Perfect.
So I'll
Not
try to relay
necessarily-
that.
Yeah, because we want to set them up for success.
Yeah.
Not walk in the door already discouraged,
Right, yeah.
you know.
I think that, and
You have to have hope. If they think they're not going to be approved, then they're not going to put a lot of work into the plan, because plans are a lot of work.
Yeah.
If they're self-defeating right from the beginning, like, I know I'm not going to get it because there's no money, you know, you're going to get what you expect.
Yeah,
Nothing.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that process and the quarterly or whatever reports that we get on how the projects are coming, I think that's really going to help us.
Yeah.
We'll know how the process is, so when the next CIP project comes in, you know, it shouldn't be something we've seen before. I think that's going to benefit.
By the way, that might be better. I think I said a minute ago monthly, but quarterly might actually be much more practical and sufficient. So I think the point was regular.
Yeah, just some kind of checkups on it, you know.
2 months, you know, but like,
Yeah, I just mixed up. I had the quarterly report on my mind.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm saying, I think you're right. I think monthly is probably too frequent. I said that, but I really just meant regular. Okay, so let's, next on our agenda is update on the email security. So we got,
Sean called in if y'all have any questions.
Well,
He said he's waiting.
good, because that's where I was gonna turn to him too. So Sean Stern, we got 2 Seans. We got a document passed to us today from Taylor that you put together with some notes there. Do you want to talk us through it first, and then we take it from there?
Sure, be glad to. Your Exchange email system, Office 365, has, it's basically a full email system. And at the top of the document, you'll see what Microsoft recommends with regards to administrative roles. And I believe that's what you were referring to
Yes.
in the last meeting. Security is a part of it. And I added another piece down at the bottom about archiving because I was involved in a FOIA request. So to begin, the current administrators, there's 5 of them. The recommended is anywhere between 2 and 4. I don't know that we need, I think that's in bigger organizations. I think 2 is sufficient in our configuration. The idea behind it is that if one administrator gets themselves locked out, the other can unlock them. The other thing is administrative privileges, you can do anything you want in the system. If you have a devious or a stone to grind, you can do some really bad things to the email system. So you want to limit that to some people. So I made a recommendation to have an outside service company be one administrator and then a county employee. It's a little bit of checks and balance. The outside company is impartial and doesn't care typically what the politics are inside. But if your outside agency, you don't want to work with them, you've got somebody in the county that can, reset passwords and remove users. So it's a little bit of check and balance. So I would suggest, just 2 people being administrators. There are other roles in the system that are administrative. I do discuss that in other roles. There are roles that can be compliance, and you can, adjust those accordingly. You can give people those permissions, and they don't have full control of the system like a global admin does. But they can definitely get into mailboxes if needed or access compliance records, activity logs, that sort of thing. And Microsoft talks about limiting roles. That's again just keeping the house secure and making sure that people have access to what they need to have access to, and no more than that. I go down to now security. Multi-factor authentication has been implemented. This protects from outside access via the web. If a authenticated user tries to get in, they will get a code. They have to key in that code to be able to get into their email. It protects from hacking for the most part. And then there are some email security features that will limit where email will come from for the county. What it does is the security features basically are enabled so that when a sending server sends an email to a receiving server, the receiving server will say, hey, are you authorized to send me an email? And if they're not authorized, it won't accept the email. So with those in place, it just locks the email down a little bit, keeps it from being spoofed, which makes email kind of dangerous. We've had an incident this week with a new customer. So they're good things to be implemented. They have not been implemented in your environment. I think that's in the email journaling and compliance. That area really came to mind recently when I was asked to do a FOIA request. The FOIA requests are challenging with the current Microsoft setup. You have to export everybody's mailbox and send it off because it's really what's considered to be almost like separate conversations, even though it's an email back and forth. When you go to a service or a specific piece of hardware, it keeps one email and just keeps adding to it, so you get the complete conversation all in one email, essentially. So it reduces the need to go back and forth between mailboxes to determine how the conversation went. So it just helps with email management and security and compliance. because at any point, any user could delete a message and it could be gone. So your FOIA request may not be complete.
Gotcha.
And then I put in there, email system change requests. I think, we should have a semi-formal process when you onboard or offboard an employee as to what should happen with the email, what their email address should be done with, and, destruction of email and termination of the account. So you're not paying for something you don't need.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Any questions?
So I think interestingly, my comment on the last one about the email change requests will also lead back to the first one. I think one of the problems that we have is we don't have anyone in the county administration that's really an IT resource. And so totally agree we need a process around this. Also I understand your point about one person from the county being the global administrator. It's not really clear who would do either one of those right now. I just made myself a note to follow up with Taylor because he had mentioned about possibly requesting in the upcoming budget an IT resource. I'm not sure what his current thinking on that is, but I think we've all seen a number of instances where that could be very
advantageous.
Yeah, very necessary. In fact, I think we'll also talk about one when we get to the Civic Engage update. Okay, so maybe let's walk back through those were good overview, Sean. Maybe we walk back through these one at a time and board members talk about kind of what do we want to see as direction with these. So if we start back up at the global administrators, like you said, we've got 5 right now. You're recommending we come down. I think we all, based on last month's conversation, seem like we would agree with that. Taylor told me.
I thought last month we agreed that Sean would be the global administrator.
Well, that's exactly where I was going is I think we already agreed Derek could come off because that was a different engagement at a different time. Taylor told me he is comfortable coming off and that he actually thinks that would be good for many reasons. And then I think, yeah, Roger, I think we agreed that while Sean, we like the idea of one person in the county being the second administrator, that we're not at that point that we can do that. And so
we could have a second administrator, but that person doesn't need to be a global administrator. They could just do simple functions like changing passwords.
Yeah. The main concern, Sean, is people being able to see. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Bo Lynch might be a good solution because I understand you have a memorandum of understanding with that group. So that may be an option. We
do, but Bo got a promotion at the schools to be the director of operations. So I don't think it's Bo himself anymore. I don't know who that person is. Maybe it is still Bo, but
he's still running the IT, but I don't know if he has enough time to dedicate to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm not sure of.
Yeah.
So Sean,
yeah, go ahead, Roger.
Do we have a help desk contract with you?
No, it's as needed.
So if somebody just needs PC support or they forgot their password, what do they do right now?
They can call us and, we assist as
best
we can.
So departments call you directly?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where I really think Sean just needs to be the sole global admin. And then he could delegate certain permissions to other people in the county.
I think that'd be till we get to the point where we need an IT person. I think that would be the fix for right now. And eventually maybe an IT person.
All right. So just informal, we're not voting, just informal polling around the table. We all seem supportive of that, Sean. And I think that, to be fair, the key concern that came up before is that, this is county business, taxpayer information in the system. The concern was about the global administrator being able to see other people's email. So if we can designate someone like Tammy who could do password resets, who can add a new person, delete a person, I don't think that's a concern as long as that level of administrator
Do some of the
can't
basic tasks.
see into the, exactly. So I think that's the key we're trying to solve for, Sean.
Sure.
And then I said we go in order, but let's just maybe jump down. I'll jump to the last one then around your process point. Would you be able to, and I mean, obviously we pay you for the services, but would you be able to maybe mock up a process that you would recommend for those email system change requests that then the administration could adopt as their process?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now that I'm at the bottom, I'll work my way back up since I'm scrolling.
While you're there, I would, not to sound too dumb, but technology's not my thing. I would love some kind of FOIA request class, because the only way I know how to do it is to pull it out and send individual emails, unless I'm doing it right. And it's a nightmare for me. I can't imagine when David was doing it, and I guess Holly now is going to have to
Brenda's actually doing it.
sift through where I send you 20, I don't know if there's a better way to do it, Sean, if we're doing it right, or if that's something you could throw an impromptu training on.
Let's take that down. Let's take that down as an action. And between Brenda, Holly, Sean, Stern, and I we'll figure out either add it to a next topic or create something and send out to people.
So I'm not the only one having trouble getting.
No.
No, I don't think it's the only way I know how to do it too, except that I create each one as a PDF and then just merge them, but it's still one at a time.
I don't even know how to do that.
It doesn't, my point is it's a different way, but it's still just as cumbersome. So I think that's the problem. So let's actually.
And for me, the bigger piece is making sure that I send everything that I was supposed to send. I don't have anything to hide.
But do you miss, it's manuals, problem.
Right. It's more of,
all right,
not looking, not missing something and oh, wait, he didn't send this. And then there's a whole problem there.
So Sean, you just heard that conversation about the challenges we're having, actually working backwards, then email journaling, compliance and archiving is the next one. The recommendation that you wrote and that you spoke about having another service for that, and you put in here $6.50 a month per user. Do you think that service you're recommending would solve the challenges, or at least many of them that we were just describing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We don't have to do that for every user though, right?
It's just the users in the email system. And it's,
but I mean, if there's a user that, there's many users who would never be FOIA'd. There's only certain people that FOIA requests go after.
Yeah, we can, I'd have to look at it to see if I can be selective. That would be the only question.
All right,
And
can
I
you look at,
check with that service?
so looking around the table and based on comments, I think we're all interested in something better to solve this. Our interest is piqued by your comments here. Can you look one level deeper and give us some recommendations about how to proceed best, including, maybe the price gets a little cheaper if we do bulk, or if, maybe we can select individual people instead of all, something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Fewer the people, the better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, Sean, you could just email that, those recommendations to us offline, and we can then discuss it at the next meeting, but give us a little time to think about it in advance. Or you're welcome to talk to any of us offline if you want more clarity, obviously.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I remind you that we don't have anything that prohibits us from taking a vote in a work session. And I believe this global admin thing was taken care of last month, and now I don't want to be here again next month saying that we didn't agree to it yet. Can we if we need a vote, can we take a vote that we're going, tomorrow, we're gonna go clean up all the admins, get rid of everybody except for Sean?
I
Can we
agree.
make
I
that
wasn't
happen?
trying to avoid a vote, just, you're right. You want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we select and set up Sean Stern as the sole global admin and have him determine who should have limited admin access for doing simple function resets. And
May I
just
ask
go do it, go do it.
one point of clarification on your motion? I assume you mean Sean Stern Computer Services, the company, not just the
Yes,
individual
yes.
Sean Stern, right?
Yes, of course.
I thought so, just clarifying that in the motion. All right, any other
That's the
discussion?
motion.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Call the question.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's all right. The motion carries. Thank you. And then let's just go back to what we did. All right, so the next, all right, we'll catch up on the voting here if we need to. Email system requests, he's going to put a process in place, send it to give to the administration. I think you covered that in your motion too.
Thanks, sir.
And the journaling, compliance and archiving, he's going to send us a proposal. Are we good with that without a?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and so the next one was security. Sean Stern, you were recommending that we implement features like DKIM and DMARC, correct? Does this have any costs?
No, other than labor time, which would be about half an hour,
Is it,
about $50.
is there any equipment, any kind of equipment? I mean, I heard server, I heard the word servers and stuff. Is there any kind of equipment we need to purchase, or is all this pretty much in place?
No, those features are more public and private keys. They're security keys that are implemented into the email servers. So when an email goes out, it sends out that private key and it's matched up to make sure it's coming from the right place. So it's
Our email
just,
system's in the cloud,
lack of
isn't
better
it, Sean?
term. Yes.
Sean? Yeah. So we don't own the server.
Which means, right, which means we don't have our own, or we.
We don't need any more equipment. That's all I have.
No.
Gonna make a motion.
Correct. Correct. No equipment.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move with your security proposals. I think that's a great idea.
Sounds good. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stern. And the last two then were limiting roles and other roles in the system. Look like good recommendations, but takes a little more. What would you need here to do a review and then make recommendations more specifically to administration?
Yeah, I would want to meet with, Taylor and, and others, whoever does HR, kind of understand people's roles.
Yeah.
And what they do. And if there's a role that that would be better suited for them in the system so that they can accomplish their jobs, like FOIA, for lack of better, in the compliance part of it. If we do go with a separate service, then I want to add that person to that admin section so that they can pull the FOIA requests as needed.
Right.
So it's tailoring permissions to the roles of what people are asked to do.
Looks like there's support for that. I don't know if you could see Holly raised her hand. She's the new person responsible for HR. So if you would include her in that discussion. And it would be nice if you would invite Stephanie Coleman and Laura Walsh to that, simply because they're separate constitutional officers who are on our email system. Let them choose to opt in or not.
Okay.
All right. Sean, do you feel like that covered everything?
Yeah, I believe it's a great start.
Okay, and then, yeah, you've got a couple actions that'll take us down the next path. Carla, Stephanie, Laura, I know you're on the line there. Do you have anything, any questions, concerns, or comments you want to add in before we move off this topic?
I don't have anything major. I will just let Sean know. I mean, from my point of view, when we do have a new employee, I actually wasn't aware that I was a global admin and could do all of those functions, but all I even really know how to do at this point is to add an employee. And I like the idea of having someone in the payroll function. So either Tammy or myself being able to do that immediately and not have to wait on a third party to do it, because we do
Right.
sign up for their health insurance benefits through email. So, but that's all. I can get with Sean on that. So I'm straight.
Okay, and I don't think anybody had any concern with that either. It's sounds like that could just, we make that a more limited role versus global admin and find a way that's better for everybody.
Definitely. Thank you.
Laura, Stephanie, anything from y'all?
All I have to say is that I am looking forward to working with Sean. I do believe that there have been emails deleted before they should have been for multiple reasons, and I hope he understands the Library of Virginia retention schedule, because that's a big thing for myself.
Okay. And I'm sure if he doesn't, we will get that information. And I see Laura with a comment that she's good with that. Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah. If I could add to that,
Of course.
Stephanie, the journaling keeps information for 7 years. So even if someone deletes the email today, it's too late. That email is in the journal. It will never be deleted.
Wow.
So
that's good. That's what we need.
Yeah.
It will never be deleted, but it may not be findable for someone who's doing a FOIA search unless we change the way we're doing it.
Yeah, which I think is the process change around FOIA that we need to look at. Yeah.
Right. So, in this recent request, one of the board members had been deleted a long time, and it was a part of the request, but his account was completely gone. So we couldn't gain anything. But if it was in the journal, in the journaling, the data would still be there.
Got it. Good. Sounds like the direction we want to head.
Did I hear that Brenda is our new FOIA officer?
Did hear that, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on the email?
Thank you, Sean, for the information.
Absolutely.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
While we have Sean, can I bring up another subject?
Sure.
Just briefly, maybe he can explain it. I had asked him earlier tonight why our workshops are not YouTubed live like our Board of Supervisors meetings. And he said it takes two separate systems. And I don't understand why, but I think it's important that these meetings also be YouTube live, because there's people that want to watch.
Yeah. Do you have more?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. To address that, essentially, two systems. One is the system that is streaming the YouTube meeting, and the other would be to be a part of the meeting and, the WebEx. Because they're two separate feeds, you can't feed both of them together on the same system.
So what will we need?
Like
what would we need in addition to what we have in this room?
Well, currently, the way that it's running right now is the WebEx meeting is being run by Holly, and the YouTube stream is being handled by me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm joined into the meeting, as you see, via a separate machine, and that takes the audio and video and pipes it into the YouTube stream. So it required a special package and a configuration that does virtual ports for audio and video. So now what we've done and it's because we're doing WebEx meetings and YouTube. If we were just doing regular meetings and putting everything up on YouTube and not doing a WebEx, then only one machine is necessary. But because we're doing WebEx and YouTube, we have to combine those two streams together.
So you can't YouTube from your screen where you sit right now live of everything that's happening in a WebEx meeting.
She's watching.
Yeah,
Definitely.
correct. It would be trying to do too many things with one system. Mainly the video side of it.
Okay.
Now, in the auditorium, we're configured with two machines there. We were with two cameras, but with the new stuff, it'll just be one camera.
I'm unsure.
But it's still two systems, one doing one thing, one doing another, because you still have to combine the data streams.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got someone saying they can see this meeting right now on YouTube live. So does that seem accurate to you? I guess I'm not following.
Go ahead.
You said yes, that is correct?
Yes, it is correct. I'm watching the YouTube on a third machine or second machine over here right now.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Whenever
So I think
I'm
that's
streaming, I'm watching.
Okay, so I think that is our goal we wanted, right? Was for the workshops.
Except he's doing it remotely versus us being able to do it.
But that's okay. That's what I was at. That's the question I just asked. Could he do it from where he's sitting right now? Just YouTube everything that's on his screen.
And so he's
So
Okay.
And I am.
he's doing that.
he's doing that.
He's
Yes.
doing it.
That's good. That's what you,
We need to make that available to the public and let them know that we're doing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
some people must know because they're texting saying they're watching. So
Okay.
we can
I
do
didn't
more.
know.
I didn't know either. We can do better about communicating it, but somebody knows.
it's the man
Okay.
behind the curtain.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Now, to address Mr. Scott's other questions about workshops and things like that and being put out on YouTube, when meetings are taking place, and I'm going to say, like, I'm going to use probably bad examples here, but let's say the IDA meeting or the Piedmont Jail meeting, those meetings are being run in WebEx, and Holly is recording those meetings, but they are not being YouTube streamed like we're doing right now.
Like planning committee,
But-
like EDA or something. Right?
Exactly.
So Sean, the
Exactly.
reason it's happened, is the reason it's happening tonight because I asked you to do it?
No. I've been,
So
any
you've done-
meeting I've been asked
you've been-
to attend and do this, I've done it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the December 9th meeting, I'm not exactly sure what happened. I may not have clicked the button to say it was public, and I'm going to research that here in just a minute. But if I was a part of the meeting and I knew it was happening, I would be streaming it. And Holly recorded it. So in the backside of it, Holly's got a copy of it at WebEx, and I can download that and upload it to YouTube, and it will be there.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so we do have copies of those things, and just like Holly records the EDA and the other meetings, like I was saying a minute ago, I can take those videos and upload them to YouTube as well.
Okay.
It's just I may not be a part of all the meetings or know that they're occurring.
That's what I was going to ask Sean, is this the easiest way to go, or do you recommend us trying to get another one of these systems identical to what we have for this meeting room to do both?
If we're going to continue in the current format, then for you guys to run it, yes, I would say we need a second system to be able to do all the streaming and so forth. But if we were going to go back to the auditorium, then I would recommend no changes at this point, because the auditorium is already configured and set up for exactly what we want to do.
Well, the workshops will always be here.
As far as we know, and we do like we talked about last month, even just people who had 15 minutes on the agenda not had to drive in to be on it.
Right.
Yeah. So it sounds like we should probably make plans for this availability, even if we go back most of the time for the big meetings in the auditorium.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to stream them live, then you need a second system to make that function happen.
You can't do it from a phone or a tablet.
No, I'm using a product called vMix.
Okay.
It's a software package that the county has paid for. It's on my laptop right now, and that's what I'm
Okay.
using to combine the streams.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here's what I take away from this. Let me see if I can summarize. Is for now, we can ask Sean Stern computer systems. I want to, not just you personally. Whenever we need a meeting live streamed, and you're capable of doing it. As long as we tell you, that's fine. If we don't need it live streamed, we continue recording it like we have been, and then we can upload it later. That's fairly easy. And then we want to pursue what it would take for us to be able to do the live streaming ourselves without having to engage you for every single meeting. Does that sound like the summary?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you could add that to your list we had earlier of what would it, kind of come back with some proposals on what that would take then. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good topic. Anything else for Sean?
No.
All right. Let's move on then to review of the River Street lease for Amelia Manborough. Jeff, I think you're walking us through that one. Is that correct, sir?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Well, we talked about this last meeting. There's just a little bit of an update. We have finalized all the terms and conditions, cleaned it up. It's pretty much in line with the co-location agreements you've already executed for the water towers. There's still the outstanding issue with the historic review process. At this point, the lead on that is River Street and Flex, its site consultant. And I've been exchanging some information with Taylor the last week or so, and they're still engaged on that, and they've been asked to provide some information back to the Department of Historic Resources. So they're doing that, and so I'm not directly involved in that, but I know it's ongoing. And we're hopeful that we'll get a good answer soon. If not, then the alternative will be to look for another suitable site. And I think that River Street and Flex and the county staff, they're all aware of that. And I think they're ready to do that, but they're hopeful, from what I hear, that they can get some movement with the state review of the historic impacts. But as far as you all tonight, I think we talked about this at the last meeting, Mr. Chair, and that was, a public hearing needs to be held before the county can lease county property. So the public notice was advertised, so that's all been done. And so the only real action would be to hold that public hearing for comment on the lease. And then after that, after the public hearing is closed, if it's the board's desire, would be to approve the county entering into the agreement contingent upon the historic review process being resolved. And that would free up, Taylor and me to go ahead and get it done between now and, any other meeting, so you don't have to address it again. I don't know the time frame on that, but and if we know soon enough that it's not going to work out, then we shift to another site and start that process. But after a public hearing tonight, you all can then approve staff executing the agreement contingent upon the
Public hearing right now.
review.
So I saw that public hearing advertised. I don't have it in front of me. It's for tonight's meeting.
That's my understanding. That was what was talked about at the last meeting.
Okay. Agenda. Okay. All right. Well, we will open it up for public comment then. Brenda, have you received any emails for public comment on this topic?
No, we have nothing.
I do see we have one other person on the line. Ms. Ruffin, I believe it is. Are you on for this topic?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Mrs. Ruffin. I'm sorry. I didn't know who it was.
It's fine. It's fine. I guess I'll go ahead and ask. My question about River Street is that, like, are there being any other towers being built in Amelia except for Manborough? Are there any other towers being built, or just Manborough for now?
There are multiple towers being considered. So far we've selected 2 locations that already had towers, and we've placed, working on placing systems on those. This is the first tower that's being built, but we have disclosed our public plans for future towers at locations still being determined as the rollout continues.
But Ira.
Okay, and I also have a second question, sir.
Sure.
When will the River Street like, you know, service and stuff be turned on, you know, for the county?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Roger. Go ahead.
I was trying to say something on my other mic. I couldn't hear it. Ira and I have had several emails back and forth offline, and that's one of the reasons he's on this WebEx tonight. And I attended the River Street update meeting yesterday morning, and the update from River Street is, and they can't commit to it 100%, but they're looking at going live on the GBC tank, the main water tank, and the Featherstone silo, which is very close to where Ira lives, within 2 weeks. Now, when I say go live, they'll be doing some beta testing and field testing, but all the hardware is in place. It's all being debugged right now. All the electricity has been hooked up, and they're doing testing. So it's very, very close, and it will cover a large portion of the center of Amelia. The Manborough Tower is the only one we're building in phase 1, but the rest of them will be 2 to 3 more towers, and they'd be out in the Jetersville, Painville, out more in the western and southern part of the county. And those are still pretty far off. We don't have dates for those yet. Next week, we're going to be getting an update from River Street on the plan forward. But phase 1 is wrapping up. It's almost finished, except for the glitch in Manborough. Everything would have been right, you know, not right on time, but very close to on time.
Okay, thank you.
And just a little more detail on the glitch with SHPO. SHPO is the acronym for the historic department, whatever it is. I can't remember the words for it, but it's called SHPO. And what's happening between Flex, which is a subcontractor of River Street, and SHPO is they're trying to convince SHPO to go with the existing tower. They're not actually presenting alternatives at this point, which I was kind of concerned about, because SHPO has made a decision, and now what we're doing is going back to them and trying to convince them otherwise to accept it. So I don't know how positive that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see. It should be determined pretty soon. But if they say no again, then we definitely have to find another site.
Who's these groups in? Authority. Everything.
Thank you, Roger. That all sounds very consistent with what we've read and had in previous meetings. Mr. Ruffin, does that help you? Any other information that we can provide?
As far as I'm concerned, no, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your questions. That's good information to have shared.
And your patience waiting.
Yes, we are all quite eager. Do we have anyone else on the line with comments? All right, well, I'm going to close the public hearing for the River Street lease here. Mr. Gore, any other actions we need to take from that tonight?
No, Mr. Chairman, just if you're inclined to motion to approve staff executing it contingent upon the resolution of the historic review process.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion to that effect from Mr. Harris. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Gore, will you be remaining online too?
If you need me to.
I can just ask you one question now if you don't. I think because the board is going to be meeting with the department heads for budget discussions. We've got sessions scheduled at the 21st, 22nd, and 28th that I mentioned earlier. I think at the end of this meeting, we need to continue this meeting until that. Is that your advice?
That's fine. You either continue it or call a special meeting. I think it's easier to continue this. And I would, make a motion at the conclusion of a date and time certain, if you know it.
We do.
And then staff will also have to post notice of that.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I was thinking too. Just wanted your confirmation. I appreciate that.
Of course.
We've just got one more update topic and then we'll get to that. Okay, thanks, Mr. Gore.
Thank you.
All right, Civic Engage update, Ms. Steele?
Yes. So this will be fairly quick. Last week, staff had the kickoff meetings for Civic Clerk, which is the meeting management system, and Civic Engage, which is the new website, both through Civic Plus. Civic Clerk was the first one we had, and that will be up and running in mid-March. So they have a very quick turnaround. They needed some items from us that we were easily able to get to them. But Civic Engage sent us a checklist of items that they need from us. And we wanted to engage with you all to see if you were giving us permission to make these decisions or if you all wanted to. Some examples of what I'm talking about is they want to know if there are specific colors we want our website to be, slogans. We need 5 to 7 pictures if y'all feel strongly about what pictures go on there, placement of items. If there is any links to specific site pages within our site that you all think it's very important that they go on the front of the website. So those kind of decisions, if y'all want staff to, or if one of you wants to be with staff in making these decisions, we just need feedback from y'all, how involved you'd like to be.
I mean, I don't need any parts of it.
Holly.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I think we should leave it up to Holly.
Holly.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Well, I mean,
Orange and maroon, okay.
If you deal with it and the staff is going to probably deal with it and use it more than I am, I'm not one to say what color it needs to be.
Okay.
You know, I don't.
Okay.
Not trying to pull it off, but
Holly? Just no Cardi B, okay, Holly?
We'll see. It's too early to tell. Okay, yeah, and obviously we're not going to do anything crazy. We have a lot of pictures on Brenda's.
That's faith.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I think if there's ever something you want to run by us,
okay,
feel free to shoot an email out. We can't have a group conversation, obviously, but you can send something for us to separately review.
okay.
Otherwise, I think we've got full faith in
And they do give
administration.
us a first look in February before it goes live. So at that time, y'all could obviously see what has been chosen, and if anything is glaring that you don't like, that's the time we can fix it, change it,
I mean,
make it better.
I would suggest as far as the layout, they probably know more than than any of us do, or what should be on the homepage, for example.
Right.
I mean, they do this. So,
Exactly.
you know, they'll probably give you great recommendations, at least as a starter, you know, of what other people like or people that have had them
Exactly.
and said, oh, hey, you know, we'd like to see it this way. This works better. So, I mean, they'll probably be able to
Yes.
guide it along.
Yeah, and they can do that for us. It's mainly because, you know, some larger areas have full branding guidelines. We obviously don't have that, but she didn't know if there was anything we specifically, it had to be on there. But I think within reason.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Brenda, was there anything I was missing that they brought up that we thought we should run by the board first? I think it was just those formatting.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
Well, excited to hear you're making progress.
yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
That's good.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel about what you've seen so far? Like, I know
Good.
there's always questions about, you know, how will we be able to maintain and support it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were able to talk that out with them. We had about an hour each kickoff meetings with them, and it's a pretty extensive, very involved process for the rollout.
Yeah.
And each one, there are several different levels of trainings that are an hour to 2 hours. So there's lots of training built in. So
Good.
we're thinking it's going to be good.
Excellent.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Okay. Well, thank you. That brings us to the end of our scheduled agenda. Are there any other topics for discussion? All right. I need to ask, if I've done this, do we need to continue the session
I make a motion, we continue it.
to January 21st at 2 p.m. for the next budget meeting?
That's fine.
Yes, perfect.
Do you have to continue it for a certain topic, the budget? Is that what we're doing? Is that how-
Yeah, well, you got to continue meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, but we know that's what,
Okay.
that is the planned purpose for, yeah, Roger, go ahead.
Do we have to continue it 3 times, or can we just continue it now for all 3 dates? That's a Jeff question, I guess.
I think at the end of each one, we're going to need to at the end of each session, we're going to need to continue. I think we can indicate upfront for citizens, though, that we do have 3 times scheduled. Let's just make it easy for people.
Right.
We have 3 times scheduled with department heads to hear their budget requests. Those are, to repeat again, Thursday, January 21st at 2 p.m., Friday, January 22nd at 9 a.m., and Thursday, January 28th at 9 a.m. We're not planning to vote on the budget at that point. That is for receiving requests and talking to department heads about their budget needs. All right, so any other conversation on Mr. Felt's motion to continue to January 21st at 2 p.m.? Here, I should indicate here in the conference room for department heads and board, and virtually for all others like tonight.
Call for the question.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right, the meeting is continued until January 21st, 2 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Not smooth with them still, but I'm getting there. I had a good teacher. I try to, even when